newly crowned WBO Cruiserweight champion Oleksandr Usyk has called out newly crowned IBF Cruiserweight champion Murat Gassiev and also the WBC Cruiserweight champion Tony Bellew. He didn't say much here, but he got his point across. So let me quote Oleksandr Usyk directly. He says, "There are a bunch of guys who I need to fight. I would like to fight Murat Gassiev, but I don't think that will happen in the near future. The guy in England, Tony Bellew, he holds a world title too. This is professional boxing, so you need to go step by step. I fought in the World Series of Boxing as a cruiserweight. This is why I chose to start at cruiserweight and not heavyweight." He goes on to say, talk about his victory over Krzysztof Glowacki recently and winning the vacant WBO Cruiserweight title. He says, "I don't think it was that easy for me. Maybe it looked easy, but I did a lot of work to make it look like that." So those are the words of Oleksandr Usyk, as I say, the WBO Cruiserweight World Champion, mentioning those two guys right there, Gassiev and Bellew. Interesting, he didn't mention Lebedev. Perhaps Lebedev is not on his radar since he lost his last fight. Although Lebedev, we have to bear in mind, still holds the WBA Cruiserweight World title. So the titles are now fractured, or more fractured than they were following the Gassiev-Lebedev fight, because Lebedev's WBA belt was not on the line in that fight. Now, Usyk here says he can't see the Gassiev fight happening anytime soon, and I agree with him. I said that immediately after the fight. I can't see him fighting Usyk anytime soon. He's very, very raw, Gassiev, very green, had a very short amateur career, and he's a young guy. I believe he's like 23, something like that. So I think they're going to try and build him as a champion, and they're not going to rush him into fighting Oleksandr Usyk. They're going to try and make some money for him and also out of him first before they put him in such a dangerous fight. I think the Bellew fight is more realistic for Usyk in the shorter term. We have to see what happens to Bellew in the David Haye fight. Most of us are assuming he's going to lose that fight. If he does, I mean, depending on the manner of his victory, he may move back down to cruiserweight and defend his WBC belt against probably a mandatory first, and then maybe look for a unification. And actually, Bellew will probably be looking to unify with Gassiev, because I've said this before and some people scoffed at it, but I'm going to reiterate. I think Bellew, as long as he don't take too much damage from David Haye, and again, we have to see what happens there, because David Haye might ruin him. But as long as they don't take too much damage from Haye, if they fought right now, I'd give Bellew a decent chance against Gassiev. I really would, because people are talking about Gassiev's power. Yeah, he's got power. Yeah, he's strong. But technically, he's very, very raw. Bellew was not Andre Ward, technically, or Mayweather or Hopkins or Lomachenko, but he is better than Gassiev technically. Don't kid yourselves. Tony Bellew has got better footwork than Gassiev. He sets up things in a more sophisticated fashion than Gassiev. I know Bellew can get a little hot-headed and wild himself, but generally he's a bit better technically than Gassiev is, particularly his footwork. Gassiev's footwork's really very, very poor. He won that Lebedev fight really on just sheer brute force rather than any kind of technique there. It was sheer brute force and strength, because his footwork was terrible. His ability to cut off the ring was non-existent. So I give Bellew a decent chance against Gassiev. I'm not saying that Bellew's definitely going to win the fight. No, but I think anybody who thinks that's not a competitive fight, I think you're deluded, to be honest with you. I think Bellew against Gassiev is a very, very competitive fight, and I might even slightly edge Bellew in that fight. So Bellew might go for Gassiev, basically. Long story short. He'll probably go for Gassiev, so maybe Usyk will be frozen out for a while. Maybe he'll really have to wait. He'll really have to wait and wait and wait. Maybe he'll have to take on Lebedev. I mean, will Lebedev even be willing to fight him? Maybe Usyk, did I just say Gassiev? Maybe Usyk will end up being the Guillermo Rigondeaux of the cruiserweight division, where nobody wants to fight him and they're all blatantly ducking him. We'll see. Tony Bellew is a very brave man and a very proud man. So you would find it hard to imagine him ducking, but you never know. You know, at the end of the day, he's in it for money, just like most people are. And he probably knows there's only so many more paydays he has left in him. That's why he's talking about fighting Joshua and other people if he manages to spring the upset over David Haye, because he wants to cash in or cash out, however you want to phrase it. So let's say he loses to Haye, goes back down to cruiserweight. Is he going to accept a unification with Lebedev? With Usyk? Or is he going to accept a unification with Lebedev or Gassiev? Probably the latter two, isn't it? So, I don't know. It'd be sad if Usyk does get frozen out like a Rigondeaux, but it could very well happen. He might just be too damn good for his own good. Some people have talked about Usyk possibly moving up to heavyweight in the long term, and I can see that. He's obviously not the tallest guy for a heavyweight these days. 6'3" back in the days would have been a excellent height for a heavyweight in the 80s and somewhat the 90s. But these days, 6'3" is actually short for a heavyweight, which is incredible. These guys are flipping giants these days. So, but still, 6'3" is tall enough to still be able to do something. Yeah, David Haye's 6'3", for example. So he's tall enough to still be able to do something. And he's got the skills, he's got the movement, which, well, nobody else really in the heavyweight division has got. I know Tyson Fury can move and there's a few other guys who can move, but not as well as Usyk. Usyk has got tremendous movement. So, yeah, I think he might be able to do something at heavyweight. I think he, particularly against the slower guys, the more robotic heavyweights, I think he'll be able to do something. So, I look forward to seeing how Usyk's career unfolds. And I've mentioned this before, but if you didn't see Usyk in the World Series of Boxing, go watch that. It's on YouTube. YouTube his fight against the Iron Giant. Yeah, God, I forget his name now. What's the Iron Giant called, man? The British super heavyweight who won silver medal in the Olympics against Tony Yoka. I've totally forgotten the guy's name. Man, my old age is killing me. I can't. The guy who spars Joshua. The big mixed race guy. I can't remember his name. But anyway, Usyk fought him in the World Series of Boxing and beat the absolute crap out of him. And that guy's a big heavyweight, 6'6" or whatever he is. Big, strong heavyweight, powerful guy. And Usyk just tore him to pieces. Normally when I forget somebody's name, it comes to me later on in the video. But right now, for some reason, maybe it's because I'm a bit ill. It's just not coming to me, man. My brain's just all clogged up with whatever. How can I not remember that guy's name? What's that guy called? He fought in the Olympics, man. I've done videos about the guy. Oh, man. Terrible. All right. You guys will drop it in the comment section below. So, yeah. Usyk, let me know what you feel about him calling out Gassiev and Bellew. Do you think any of those fights are going to happen, or do you think he's going to be frozen out of the cruiserweight picture, similar to how Rigondeaux was frozen out at super bantamweight? Drop it all in the comment section below. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.